Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone across the globe joining us today. This is Bridget from Acquia. Today's webinar is a single customer view starts with a CDP, Meet AgilOne, with Omer Atun, CEO and founder of AgilOne and now Chief Science Officer at Acquia, Karen Wood, Senior Director of Product Marketing, and Zack Senior Solutions Engineer. Just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. If you have any audio issues, please send them in the Q&A tab and I will assist you. If you have any questions for the presenters, please submit them in the Q&A tab as well, and they will answer them at the end of the presentation. Slides and the recording of this webinar will be posted to acquia.com and also sent to you via email within the next few days. And without further ado, I will pass it over to Zack.
Thank you, Bridget. And I'm so excited to be here today. And as Bridget said, my name is Zack. I'm the Senior Solutions Engineer at Acquia. And my role is to really help connect the dots between what our products do and ultimately what our customers are trying to achieve. And so, for today's presentation, before I turn it over to Omer and Karen, I just wanted to kind of set some ground rules. We are clearly, within an experience economy. Everywhere we go, brands are competing on experience. Consumers, demand a good, positive experience. It shapes how we feel about a brand, how we think about loyalty, how we spend. And I can't think of a better example, of experience. I had the joy of taking a little over a year ago, taking my youngest daughter to Disney World for the first time. And as we stood inside Cinderella's castle, my 3-year-old standing next to Cinderella, watching the fireworks, and seeing the smile on her face, there was no better experience. And at that point in time, I would have probably spent any amount of money or done anything to continue that experience. But what's unique and what people maybe don't always know is that Disney World is actually not at ground level. It's actually at the second story, because beneath the exterior, beneath all of the experience that you see, kind of outwardly, is a series of tunnels. And underneath those tunnels, or in those tunnels, cast members and characters move from one part of the park to another. And they use these tunnels to ultimately keep the outward experience working and flourishing. And I can't think of a better analogy to kind of describe how Acquia and our digital experience platform, functions, right? We are an open digital experience platform. We are the tunnels that you as brand marketers, as site owners, as content creators can use to leverage to build great experiences. And so today we're going to focus, on we have kind of two clouds, our Drupal cloud and our marketing cloud. And we're going to spend time, obviously, talking about the marketing cloud and specifically AgilOne. As a product. And so as you think about, all of our tools coming together as the tunnels, what I'd like you to understand is that AgilOne now is a centerpiece, for our marketing cloud. And ultimately, what it does is it allows us to create experiences and tie it together with content and delivery that was already powerful and capable from our Drupal cloud through Cohesion and Site Factory and all of our development tools. But now we have one new kind of weapon in our toolbox, which is the ability to take customer data across multiple touch points, web, email, e-commerce, and bring those together to drive truly personalized and meaningful experiences with customers on any channel. And so, with that in mind, I'd like to turn over to Karen Wood and let her kind of walk you through today what our agenda is going to look like, and ultimately we're going to dive deeper into AgilOne. So Karen?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Zack. So today we're going to cover a few things to help introduce you to AgilOne, the concept of a CDP, and why we're so excited to be part of Acquia. As Bridget mentioned at the beginning, Omer and I came over from the AgilOne side, and we are, again, really thrilled with the opportunity that's before us all being part of Acquia's portfolio. So Today, what we're going to cover is just the basics about CDP to help level set about what it is. You know, it's a big buzzword in the market, but it's important to sort of tease it apart from some of these other categories that are similar but not quite really a CDP. Omer will talk about our unique approach to machine learning, AI, and why these capabilities are going to be so important to our customer data platform, and how they're going to continue to be important as we grow into Acquia. We'll talk about identity resolution as a core principle of a CDP and why it's super important. And then after Omer walks through those things, I will take you through a tour of some of our customers like Lululemon, Tumi, Moosejaw, et cetera, and give you some highlights of their use cases and specific ways they're using the platform to drive value for their business. So that's what we've got planned. I think I'll turn it over to Omer to go to the next slide.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone. This is Omer Artun. I wanted to start with defining what a CDP is. It was coined, maybe 6-7 years ago, but Gartner has defined it as a system for bringing all customer data together so that you can utilize it in marketing and other use cases, like customer experience, in some operational channels and so forth. And it's all about transforming businesses to be more customer-centric. We heard about customer centricity for a long time, but the linchpin for the solution of that is to be able to be customer-centric. You need to have customer data centrally available with intelligence, with proper cleansing and definition of what a customer is, and that's what the CDP does. And CDP in the old days was called a marketing database or customer data system and so forth. And there's, of course, didn't just pop up yesterday. It existed, or people utilized adjacent systems or similar systems to that. So there are some adjacent systems or ecosystem products or platforms that is quite distinctly different than a CDP, but they could be a source or a target for a CDP, in terms of data and in terms of functionality as well. It could be a complementary system. So what you might have heard is, enterprise data warehouses house some customer data, but this is not a place for having operational customer data, doing all the cleansing and so forth. It doesn't have the proper APIs on it. It doesn't have the intelligence layer. It's not connected to operational, marketing and experience systems. So enterprise data warehouse is a great place to stage the data or house, some data around customers, but it doesn't serve the purpose of a CDP. There's also identity and access management systems that allow you to manage permissions, manage access to certain applications and so forth. You might have heard Gigya, Janrain type solutions where it provides login information, but it's more for access management. It's more for identity management, but not. It's a source system for customer data, but customers have data way outside this identity and access management system. So it's only a portion of customer data that they manage. Operational CRM is also, what people use in their call centers and to create tickets and resolve tickets around customer issues. You might have heard, Salesforce Service Cloud or Microsoft Dynamics. And these are also necessary operational systems to manage customer information. But again, these systems, there's customer data way outside these systems. So if you think about, the email activity of a person, or what they're doing on the website, or their identity and access management profiles, these are outside the operational CRM systems, and therefore operational CRM systems are a good input into a CDP, but it's not all of the customer data. Master data management have been around. Master data management manages a lot of things outside customers as well in terms of products and so forth, any sort of cataloged information. But master data management only deals with the identities of the customer and not with the interactions or transactions or intelligence or connectivity to other systems. They try to become a hub for customer identity and just manage identity as numbers or as identity system by itself. So these systems are again necessary. It could be a valuable input into a CDP, but CDP houses much more data than profiles, which includes interactions and transactions as well. Data management platforms are online-only advertising-focused systems, and these systems are used for managing online customer profiles and what they do in an anonymized fashion. It's not anonymous data, but it's anonymized data, and the use cases revolve around how do I leverage this first-party online data that I have in third-party advertising platforms. So it allows you to say, people who with certain behavior, how do I buy ads against them or buy ads for people like them and so forth. Again, it's an input or it's a target system for a CDP, but again, because it doesn't house PII data, you are unable to kind of manage customers within that. And the last one I'll mention are kind of tag management systems like mParticles and Teliums of the world, which are good for being a digital hub for disseminating customer data in a very kind of robust, fast way. But again, it's only for digital experiences, and they're optimized for transmitting data, not housing data in a persistent fashion. They're just not built for those things. So these are things that are either sources of data or targets for a CDP, but not doesn't fulfill the purpose of a CDP in any way or in totality. Now, a CDP starts with an understanding of the customer. The whole core idea behind a CDP is that you collect customers' information around everything they do. So if you think about what are all the different types of data that you have about customers, it kind of comes down to three big buckets. The first bucket is, customers' profile data, and the profile is, their name, address, phone number, what their shoe size is, or what their income level is, like all that information about a customer, about a consumer, to know who they are. The second piece of information, or the category of information, is transactional data, and that basically is the financial relationship of the customer with the company, and how valuable they are, what they're subscribed to, what they bought, all of those things that describe the financial relationship, revenue, margin, returns, all of those type of things. And the third category of data is kind of engagement data, and the engagement data is could either be engagement of the customer, they call the call center, or they browse the website on this category, or they clicked on this email kind of thing, or the engagement data could be what the brands do. So this is the email I sent them, this is the direct mail they received, this is the ads that I purchased for this customer, and so forth. So all of those things that not necessarily end up in a transaction, it's not a financial relationship, but these are all the things that has happened with that customer. It gives you context and understanding. When you have these three pieces of data, you have a holistic understanding of the customer. Now, understanding the customer, basically, the way that it's utilized is if you understand the customer and what they're trying to do or who they are, it informs the content you'll develop to put in front of that customer, or the content you'll use for engaging the customer, whether Again, whether it's on the website, whether it's on email, whether it's on the call center, whether it's in physical stores and so forth, it basically enables you to have a better engagement. When you greet a customer that is one of your best customers, or the customer who has had an issue, you might say, "We're sorry you had a recent issue," or something like that. Basically, you show that you understand that customer, and that increases the engagement with that customer. Now, we've all heard that many customers, many of us experience, we are a long-time loyal customer of a brand, but we call them or we interact with them, and people just have experience that the brand has no idea that they're a loyal customer, or they want to be treated in a different way because they've given their business to that brand, but the brand has no idea what's going on. And if you think about the reason for that, it's all about the systems that the customers interact with, whether it's a POS system, the business intelligence systems, or the email systems, or the web personalization, and so forth. These systems are all disconnected, and they're disconnected from each other because they've been purchased differently, and different technologies are powering them. And the disconnectivity makes all of this holistic understanding difficult. And the way you would connect them together, the linchpin for the whole equation to solve, revolves around the definition of a customer. If you can connect these dots around a common customer profile, then you can bring whatever direct mail or email you sent to that customer, or whatever understanding you have from a BI system, or whatever web personalization or website behavior the customer has, you can collate that information around the unique customer profile. And that's what AgilOne does. That's what a customer platform, data platform does, that it brings all of these things together on a single unified platform, so that it can power various activities. And the various activities could be, either like a customer experience type things, like website personalization or call center interactions, or it can power outbound marketing. The email that people get are all differentiated, or when they browse the website, they get something different, or it powers digital advertising across different channels, so that you can buy ads more efficiently and put stuff in front of customers that are relevant. And how does AgilOne do that? AgilOne does that with three distinct components on the platform, and powered by a real-time platform that's enterprise grade and built from ground up, thinking about the enterprise features. So the first bucket is, again, as I said, to combine all of these different systems together. You need to define who the customer is. You need to have a single view of the customer around the profiles, so that you can utilize this. And that requires you to do certain data hygiene. People have different spellings of their name. People get married. They hyphenate their last name. People move from one address to the other. All of those things. People have multiple shipping addresses and billing addresses and so forth. All of those things require you to do proper data hygiene, and then use that information to do deduping and profile unification, and in some cases append data from third parties, and doing that in a real time, and also combining online and offline data together fashion. And that's the and once you have that, you have a clean customer data profile. Now everything, if you're getting profiles from 5 different systems, now you can connect all of the operational data from those 5 systems around that common profile. And once you connect them, at that point you have a clean environment for customer data and all of their interactions and transactions. But that doesn't really allow you to do segmentation, or that doesn't allow you to treat the customer in a holistic way across all different channels. the requirement is the value that's added to the data allows you to do that. And how do you add value to that data? Is you add that through analytics and machine learning. And analytics and machine learning could be anywhere from simple things like the questions you would ask to the data. How valuable is this customer? When was the last time they interacted? How many issues they had in the last 6 months and so forth. So these are descriptive analytics that really uncover information around the customer, but it also gets into more esoteric and more deep understanding of that customer, the way humans do when they interact with other humans. And that's what machine learning solves for. Like, is this customer likely to come back? Or if I send them one more email, are they likely to click on that email? And the answers to that question will allow you to change certain things you would do. If the customer is not likely to respond to an email, one customer, and the other customer, you think they're going to open every email that you send them, you would change the frequency of the emails that they would get, and the customers would then feel better about it because they, like, one customer will feel like they're not getting spam, the other customer feels like they're getting, frequent communication with a brand that they love. So machine learning allows you to kind of act more human with a customer, that the way that a butcher did 50 years ago in a butcher shop. And now analytics allow you to do that in a much more scaled fashion. And of course, in the analytics is where the value is added in a CDP, but the value is captured in when you activate this data. So analytics is great, good understanding and so forth, but if it stays on a PowerPoint slide or in some graph on a chart, it doesn't really create value. The value is captured when this data is activated, and not only in marketing channels, but it's also on customer experience channels, as well as this data becomes centrally available through a set of APIs and other types of systems. So on the data activation side, the bread and butter, of course, is segmentation and one-to-one personalization, but it goes beyond that to become the hub for customer data across all channels of interaction. And AgilOne is built on an enterprise-grade platform. The word enterprise to us means a few things. It means it's secure, so we are SOC Type 2 compliant, GDPR, CCPA compliant, as well as all of the data is encrypted both at rest and in transit. So it satisfies large brands' security requirements. The second thing is the scalability is important. So AgilOne, we have customers with 200 million profiles in the database, over 5 billion transactions being processed, and so forth. So it truly scales in a real-time fashion, and it's built for that horizontal scalability. And the third one that defines enterprise is the configurability of the system. And AgilOne is 100% metadata configurable, so that we have certain things out of the box, but you can bring in different data models, different calculations and predictions and so forth can all be configured without sacrificing scalability and sacrificing the upgradability of the underlying platform. AgilOne is 100% cloud-based system where we have software releases every 2 weeks that every customer gets. Karen, if you can talk a little bit about the use cases around customer lifecycle and analytics.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that CDPs are really, really good at, and our CDP in particular, is not just supporting kind of these traditional outbound marketing use cases, but really supporting the customer journey across their whole life cycle, from acquiring to engaging that customer to growing that business and growing the profitability of that customer. So one of the things that we do when we work with new clients and with prospects is sit down and really understand their use cases. What are they trying to achieve with the CDP, and where can AgilOne fit in the short term, medium term, and long term, and really map that out. And it can become a very useful exercise in terms of coalescing around what those key initiatives are, what KPIs we're going to drive value for, and really define that up front. And so we'd like to bring up this slide and talk about what types of use cases are common that we support within our customers and that often, our new clients also find value in. So if you look at the acquisition piece of things over here on the left-hand side, oftentimes that correlates to digital advertising. You're trying to attract new prospects. And a couple of ways that a CDP can help with that. One is we can help with lookalike modeling. So rather than relying 100% on Facebook's lookalike modeling and using their data to drive those lookalikes, or whatever ad network you're using, you actually can use AgilOne data for example, to take your very best customers, send that to Facebook as a Facebook custom audience, and then Facebook can do lookalike modeling on those clients and then prospect for customers that will have a higher lifetime value, be more profitable over time, et cetera. Another example within that kind of digital advertising bucket is a simplistic use case, but a super impactful one, which is, typically you would retarget to someone who's come to your website and browsed an item. You would retarget them with that item that they saw. If they come in with a CDP, if they come into a store and actually purchase that item, you can actually tie that together and then suppress them from that retargeting campaign so that you're not wasting money on them or irritating them by following them around the internet with something they just purchased. So lots of, within all of these, there are lots and lots of use cases that support. Those are just two examples. Within the engage kind of bucket, so that's around customer experience, engaging a customer at that one-to-one level. So, obviously, when people think about, that one-to-one personalization, et cetera, you think about website personalization, which is absolutely a use case that we support. If we can identify who that customer is, we're able to give a very, very comprehensive type of personalization. One example from one of our clients is if somebody comes to the website, we actually can identify whether they have a product in repair or not, and then give them a status update on that product repair. So that's an example of going way beyond what traditional personalization is that you think about. But it also translates to other contexts where you're going to want to deliver that one-to-one engagement. So using a clienteling app, for example, on an airline or in a hotel or in a retail store is another example, or giving that data to the call center. So a call center agent can actually, see the comprehensive view, complete view of that customer and deliver a very personalized experience. And then finally, within that growth kind of category, we look at that in terms of efforts where a marketer is trying to reach out to their customers. So email, SMS, direct mail, et cetera. So a CDP can help, for one thing, help orchestrate the cadence of how often you reach them. It can help you identify who within your audience actually should receive that email or that direct mail or that SMS. So it really helps you get a lot smarter about the timing, the cadence, the frequency, and the messaging in those outbound marketing campaigns in order to really deliver that experience. And then, if you look down below, this is sort of our analytics. So the use cases on top are really those lifecycle use cases, but we also, again, philosophically firmly believe that you need the insights and the intelligence in order to drive those experiences across the lifecycle. So for AgilOne, we've really built up our platform to provide insights for lots of different teams all across the company. So not just marketing users, but also data scientists or C-suite people who need to see KPIs and metrics at a high-level dashboard view, or an analytics user who needs to get in and dig into the data. So we have, reporting, we have a data export, we have data sharing capabilities to share data with third-party BI tools, for example, advanced analytics APIs. Omer, I don't know if you want to say anything else about the analytical piece. I know that you've been very close to those capabilities.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. For the analytics, it is a core part of our platform, and Analytics is where the value is created within a CDP. Because if you don't do that, then you're just shuffling data, and it's just an operational system. Whereas CDP is an enterprise-grade platform that the value is created on the analytics side. And analytics means different things to different people, all the way from executives wanting to see a dashboard to data scientists who wants to build models. And AgilOne platform provides all of that across the board, in addition to a set of APIs and set of dissemination tools like the data export, data sharing, SQL queryability, and so forth. And we'll be happy to engage with you if you have questions, with our client success teams and our sales teams to explain more of that. So just to show some of the platform, like what it looks like and what our customers experience, the single view of the customer as you combine data will bring together a unified profile around that customer to show you how, what's the value of that customer, what type of interactions that they've done, or what does the system recommend as interactions to be done. And it gives you a holistic view of that customer across the board. The second piece is we talked about analytics. We have this is just more of the executive view, but we provide dashboards around customer acquisition, customer value, how is the business trending, but everything is dug deep into a customer level to understand, for example, how many new customers are we acquiring year to date compared to prior year and so forth. It gives you a very good understanding of your business, not just at a financial level, but it gets it down to customers, products, transactions, and so forth, that our customers utilize to understand what's going on so that they can formulate their business strategy around customers. The next piece is we talked about the data activation piece. In the data activation, the same type of questions or answers that we get around analytics allows you to do segmentation at a very granular level around customers. So for example, like what you're seeing on the screen is, if the customer is likely to buy, we have filters that can allow you to create segments for people who are high likely to buy or low likely to buy, so that you can differentiate, different campaigns against those type of people. Single view of so getting one level deeper into building a single view of the customer, identity resolution is what the keyword is to understand how that's done. So if you think about a customer's journey where, they might come in and buy something with a credit card, they don't give their name, and then they do a mobile guest checkout where they haven't created an account, but they ship something to their home address, and then they might sign up for a loyalty card on some other day and purchase something new, but then they call to create a call center ticket using an email address that they might have used before, or a brand new address about a product return, so they provide an order ID. Then they might abandon a cart or ship something to a store. But if you look closely around all of the data that the customers provided, we can stitch all these 6 different interactions together, or 6 different profiles, some of them identified, some of them unidentified, around emails they provided, or around the addresses they provided, or around their names or the order IDs and so forth, then it's actually the same customer. But if you don't stitch these things together across those known and customer-provided permission-based identities, then you will think that each of these 6 different interactions are coming from 6 different people. Whereas now together you can see that this customer has many more transactions, has had customer service issues, has had different purchases and so forth, and it gives you a much better understanding who this customer is versus 6 different interactions. Machine learning is kind of layer or analytics layers on top of that, and analytics layers on top of that as I mentioned, with first a set of questions that are easy to understand and kind of uncovers customers. And we have out-of-the-box questions that we ask. How valuable is a customer? When was the last time they purchased? How frequently do they purchase? Do they usually purchase on some sort of seasonality, or do they return a lot, or do they buy new season stuff, or do they buy stuff on clearance? All of those questions kind of lead to understanding, and also lead to input into the machine learning models. Machine learning models are basically a buzzword for understanding customers across multiple variables. You know, if you see a customer that returns a lot, always buys on clearance, and they usually buy very frequently, but they return a lot, that kind of gives you a flavor for who that customer is, versus some customer who buys full price, you know, every season, once every season, and makes big purchases every time they come. They usually don't return anything. That gives you a different kind of understanding of that customer. But you ask like 5 or 6 different questions to differentiate between those customers. And machine learning allows you to ask those 5, 6 different questions to differentiate those 2 different profiles in a much more robust and scalable way. And that's what that's what's required to be able to then do proper segmentation on that customer, and then you can activate that data in different places. Now I'll turn it over to you, turn it over to Karen to talk about, you know, when all of this is said and done, and when you activate the data, it creates huge efficiencies around how you interact with that customer, how you prepare yourself to engage with the customer in a proper way. Karen, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Omer. So as we've already discussed, there are a number of different benefits to using the CDP around customer profitability, increasing return on ad spend, increasing marketing ROI. But there are these other benefits that are super important to pretty much any organization that implements our CDP, and these are huge gains in operational efficiency. So if you think about kind of life without a CDP, your data resides either with a marketing service provider, or it's in, say, a data warehouse where the analytics or IT team has to access the data. So even for things such as executing a Facebook campaign, for example, like in line 2, without a CDP, you have to ask that other team, hey, will you please pull this list for me? I want to run a Facebook campaign. The other team then needs to go and pull the list. It might take a couple of days. I mean, we've heard from many clients that can, it's added to their queue of work they're doing. It can take, in this case, this is actually a slide that one of our customers put together of how long it actually took before AgilOne and then with AgilOne. So in this case, it took this customer 3 weeks to actually get around to pulling that file that they would need for the Facebook campaign. By then, the data is not quite as current as it was when they initially wanted to run that campaign. And then also just the time gap of needing to wait to get that data back. So with the CDP, the marketers actually have direct access to that data in real time. So they can get in, they pull that segment, they send it to Facebook, and their campaign is off and running. So that saves time, not just for the marketer, but for the other teams that had to support those requests. And you can quantify that in a lot of different ways, but the time saved and the efficiencies gained are just an incredible part, an advantage of an AgilOne. So we always like to bring that up because it's usually not the first thing people think about when they want to leverage a CDP and start to increase their ROI, but it's incredibly important. And if you go to the next slide, just to kind of recap some of the other benefits. So, without a CDP, marketers have limited view into their data. They don't have that direct access to their data. They're creating work cycles for other teams, and even within their own team. There's no single source of truth. So there's no, without resolving all those identities into that clean customer record that Omer talked about, you don't really have a clear view into who your customers really are. The data is dirty and it's messy. And then, of course, without that clean customer view, you're not able to personalize correctly. You're going to get it wrong when you try to personalize and engage customers across the customer lifecycle. So with the CDP, then, those problems are solved. If you go to the next slide, CDP, whoops, I think a CDP does provide and unify all of those things. Oh, yeah, there we go. So you are able to personalize, you gain that complete view. The challenge of all this profile data living in different silos, transactional data living just in your POS and other places, all of those data silos are able to come together into that unified view. And of course, the result is more marketing ROI, increased return on ad spend, et cetera. Okay, so I'm going to walk just through a couple of quick examples of our customers. Just a quick thing before we do that. AgilOne has quite a few customers in the medium to enterprise retail space. We have medium to enterprise B2C brand space. So our key verticals that we have sold into include retail, travel, CPG, publishing. If you think about, we are really great for customers, for brands that have a direct-to-consumer relationship or even a B2B relationship where they want to nurture that relationship over time. They have lots of frequent touches. They want to increase the profitability of their customers, and through those touches, they want to increase brand loyalty, increase retention, increase lifetime value. If a brand cares about those metrics, then they are a good fit for AgilOne. Just a quick note here that you see the 1.1 billion customer profiles, et cetera. Our platform is kind of unique in the CDP space in that we have been built to support really massive scale. Because we have quite a few retail customers, they obviously rely on the ability to scale up for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So our platform is very, very robust from just a SaaS platform perspective in terms of being able to support that type of volume, that number of customer profiles, et cetera. Okay, so 3 quick examples of ways that customers are leveraging our product. So Tumi is a luxury retailer of suitcases, luggage, et cetera. You've probably seen their stores in airports, and they have tons of physical locations all around the world. And basically their situation when they engaged AgilOne was they had gotten into a habit, which is a habit we've all been in. I'm a marketer. I've gotten into the habit myself of sending an email because that produces a result. So they were over emailing their customers by a large degree. And as a result, they were sort of hurting their reputation as a luxury brand. They were, increasing their number of unsubscribes. Engagement with email was going down. With AgilOne, they were able to really look within their customer database and identify those who would respond to an email, respond to a full price offer versus just an email with a discounted offer. And so using AgilOne, they were able to dramatically increase their full price sales, increase sales overall, while reducing their number of emails that they were sending by, it was pretty dramatic, by like a third or something like that. They were able to really reduce the number of emails that they were sending while increasing these baseline KPIs. And if you go to the next example, so Lululemon, another client of ours, they embarked on a CDP initiative because they, as you guys probably are aware, they do a lot in their stores. They have yoga workshops, they sponsor marathons and 5Ks and 10Ks and so forth. They have a lot of events that are kind of physical in nature. Meanwhile, they have their whole e-commerce engine, their whole e-commerce presence, and they needed to stitch that data together to get that complete view of the customer. So they used our CDP, which is very strong in terms of bringing together online and offline data, to create that unified profile so that when customers came to their store, they would be able to offer, for example, a one-to-one clienteling experience. Or if that customer comes to their website, they're able to personalize in a way that matches the expectation of that customer. So they measured success at a pretty high level. We are impacting their business across the board, but they have attributed 15% increase to their overall baseline revenue as a result of unifying this data and providing more relevant experiences, increase their website visits, increase event participation. So they were able to track success of those campaigns and that effort really across the board in lots and lots of different ways. And the final example here is our customer Wix. Yeah, so Wix is a great example of a customer that is using us A, operational efficiency. So they've reported back huge operational efficiency gains. And B, they have a really interesting use case around using our single customer view in their call centers. So prior to using AgilOne, they were only able to see, whether that customer had called into the call center before and any products the customer had purchased. They did not have visibility into what customer segment they belonged to, what their lifetime value was, whether they were likely to purchase or not likely to purchase, likely to churn. They just didn't have visibility into who that customer was. So using AgilOne, the reps are actually able to just log into the tool, see who the customer is, close that ticket faster, and be a lot more engaging and relevant during that conversation. So they've reported back huge gains just as a result from that. And then I think there's one more example here. Moosejaw. So Moosejaw is a great example of a customer, power user of our machine learning in order to use our machine learning to understand their customer personas. So using our product clustering and persona-based clustering, they were able to basically take examples such as their snow sports enthusiast or climbing, mountain climbing enthusiast, and identify and send emails to those. So I know Omer touched on our machine learning and analytics before, but in the context of this customer, they would only be able to identify personas like that without machine learning, without a CDP, by looking at what they had previously purchased. And so the segment of who they're targeting would be much, much smaller. Using AgilOne's persona-based clustering, we're able to actually broaden out who those customers are using machine learning and be able to target a much more relevant experience using our intelligence to drive that engagement rather than looking at kind of static data points in order to try to glean who belongs to what cluster. So anyway, as a result, they've seen a huge increase in their sales margin, conversion rates, and cost per acquisition. And I think that concludes our webinar. We've had a lot of really great questions come in. I'm going to go ahead and field them. I want to make sure we have time for everything. So let's start. Actually, let's just start at the top here. There's a great question that kind of came in at the beginning. Omer, this question will be for you. It's about when you were talking about the adjacent categories. The question is the single customer view established in an MDM solution, and then does the MDM feed into the CDP? Can you talk about the interplay between CDP and MDM?
Yes, absolutely. So MDM could be utilized as an input to a CDP, but there are certain things that MDMs can't do that the CDP does. So MDM, could be utilized to combine some systems together, especially if you're trying to connect those systems operationally around the common ID system. MDM is a good solution for that. But when you get into experience channels, or for example, if you're using an email solution, most customers utilize a cloud-based email solution. In that case, MDM is not going to be able to enforce its ID system onto an email solution, or it's not going to be able to resolve identities in a real-time fashion, when people are browsing the website and so forth, to be able to personalize the website in a real-time fashion. So MDM could do certain things, or you could just leave everything to the CDP to do. But MDMs are good for kind of more operationally tying things together around the common ID system. It could be an input, and that input could be honored by the CDP, but it's not necessary.
Thanks. That's great. We have another question here around Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And the question is, does this solution compare with Salesforce Marketing Cloud? And I'll start, and then if Zack and you or Omer want to chime in, that's great. So many of our clients use both our CDP and a Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And that's because Salesforce Marketing Cloud doesn't inherently have a CDP. They have like their 360 and things like that, but they don't provide the same thing that we provide. And as a result, we cooperate very neatly with Salesforce Marketing Cloud, both from a data ingestion point of view. So we bring data in from profiles, et cetera, from Salesforce Marketing Cloud into our single customer view. And then we also send our data, our segments, our campaigns, et cetera, to Salesforce Marketing Cloud as an execution channel. So for example, Salesforce Exact Target, we send data to that, and then the execution side takes place within Salesforce. And we have quite a few customers supporting that use case and have told us how the two working together is instrumental to their business. Yeah, so it's absolutely a use case we support.
So Salesforce Marketing Cloud is one of the tools that Salesforce has. So we actually integrate Salesforce Marketing Cloud with Salesforce Service Cloud with the Demandware platform, and Salesforce doesn't even integrate them together even within their own cloud. Salesforce, to connect the Salesforce Service Cloud to Marketing Cloud, you need to have the same email address and so forth. Whereas with AgilOne, we can utilize all sorts of profile information to stitch these things together. And like Karen said, we many of our customers use Salesforce Marketing Cloud, but they don't have an equivalent solution to what we do. Not only on the Marketing Cloud side, but also, again, like connecting the Commerce Cloud and their Service Cloud together as well.
Great. And here's a question, Zach, that perhaps you can field. It's on the question of Lyft and whether there's any crossover between Lyft and AgilOne, and what's the future of Lyft?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, I think there definitely is some crossover, but there's a better together story here, and that's one of the reasons that we are excited about this, because Lyft from a profile management does really good at taking digital information, web behavior, GeoIP, things along that nature. But the method of getting in offline information, transactional histories, it doesn't have the full identity resolution that that AgilOne does. So there's an opportunity where a customer may not be ready for CDP and can still leverage Lyft and the profile manager to build personalized web experiences. But as you expand that out and start to think about true omnichannel and or multi-channel, where you have AgilOne as your database of your profile, passing information to Lyft to then execute or power the personalizations on your website. So Lyft is sticking around. It will not be replaced. It just gets better and stronger when you start to add in things like AgilOne.
Okay, next question is around B2C versus B2B. So the question is, AgilOne historically was B2C focused, and then they ask, or do you have B2B clients? And I can speak to it, and Omer, feel free to chime in. I mean, I know personally that we have lots of B2C clients who also have a B2B part of their business. That's a really important part of their business. So today we are actually supporting quite a few B2B use cases. That's not a barrier for us. Omer, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, there's no difference between, the difference between B2B and B2C is the definition of a customer. In a B2C case, you have a single contact that's a customer. In the B2B case, you have a contact that works for a company at a location, and the company can belong to another company. It's just a hierarchical difference, and that's just expressed in data. And all of the analytics and activation and customer experience, basically is similar in many ways and can be configured where they differ.
Cool. Next question is, do you guys see an integration with Modic as well? And Zach, since you took the Lyft one, I'll punt this one over to you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's actually fundamentally the same answer as the Lyft one. Modic will still be able to operate as as a fully fledged marketing automation platform. But when you add in AgilOne as a repository for all customer data, being able to push segments and customers to Modic to trigger automation campaigns, they become even more powerful. So yes, they are definitely you're going to see integrations and conversations coming out from us very soon.
Great. Another question is, so the question is, how do you make the solution available outside of the U.S.? And actually, we actually do have quite a few customers in the EMEA region. So yeah, I think that's today we support that, and we will continue to grow and support that. And I'm just sorry, I'm looking at the question here. So another question here that came in is, in addition to supporting and orchestrating the customer experience, does this act as a single source of truth and a customer record? I think we covered this, but Omer, maybe you would like to touch on this just one more time here.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, this does become the single source of truth for customer data. You know, many of our customers who are public companies, you know, when they report the number of customers they have or the number of customers they've acquired, you know, in the past quarter and so forth, they use AgilOne as their source of truth for reporting this type of data to Wall Street. But in some cases, you know, you can say operationally, the source of truth lies with the source system. So, you know, even though AgilOne provides a source of truth across all of the systems they have as a company, when the customer calls, you know, you still have to look at the transaction system to find out like whether that customer ID has transacted that, because with any identity resolution, there's you know 1%, 0.5%, 2%, whatever, some form of error in identifying customer, and it's okay for you know, customer interactions or engagement. It's okay for segmentation and so forth, but it might not be okay to provide a return or provide some dollar amount or moving you know, some sort of financial outcome from one ID to the other. It might not be good for that. So so it depends on the situation, but you know, in most cases, yes, it is the source of truth for customer data.
All right, that is all we have time for today. Thank you so much, Omer, Karen, and Zach, and thank you all again for attending our webinar. As I said previously, the slides and the recording of this webinar will be posted to acquia.com and also sent to you via email within the next few days. And if you have any additional questions, please send them to marketing@theacquiateam.com.